from the original video game to the one based on the movie, to Power Rangers Racers. We have seen so much successful things done for the Power Rangers and even attempted. I mean, the series premiered in Japan as the original series Gold Ranger. They modified it from the pilot episode. If you haven't seen the pilot episode of the original Power Rangers for Season 1, there were so many differences that they changed up for the American distribution of the Power Rangers, including a different Yellow Ranger was used for the original pilot. Alpha had a new look and different names on some of the fan favorites, and the villains that were used, like Goldar's name in that show was Vilop. I remember that from yesterday. That was a very rare edition of the Power Rangers, and some of the modifications they made for the Power Rangers distribution in the US and Canada were desperately needed, but they were very smart. They had a lot of very creative minds for the Power Rangers, and with the concept being very difficult to understand as a child, wondering what was going to happen from episode to episode, I think that made it a little bit more fun because, as I mentioned, TV today is very, very predictable, and to sit down and watch Power Rangers Megaforce, one of the closest things you'll get to the original Power Rangers series, it's very predictable from episode to episode. They're going to eventually overcome the villain they are faced with, the obstacles and the circumstances they're faced with. Very, very predictable series. But the cast for the new Power Rangers Megaforce is very similar to the original cast. You have someone whose portrayal of Billy in that show is very similar to the original Billy character, and the portrayal of the Pink Power Ranger is very similar to the portrayal of the original Pink Power Ranger. I often wonder sometimes, whatever happened to the original Power Rangers and what they think of the new version of the Power Rangers that's being distributed both in the US and Canada after their original series created so much controversy against a young age demographic. There were so many news reports about violence during recess and lunch for children who were going through preschool and elementary school. So much controversy created from this, even deaths occurred because of it, and they had to cancel it because of the controversy that ascended. And if not for that controversy, we'd probably still be seeing the original Power Rangers produced. And I say that, I go that far with it because of how popular the Power Rangers were in 1995, 1996, and 1997. Some of the best editions of the Power Rangers of the 300 that were being produced from at least seasons 1 through 3. It was fun seeing the original cast changed up with new cast members, new Red Rangers, new Black Rangers, new Yellow Rangers, new Pink Rangers. But it was also very depressing when you saw changes in the Power Rangers as a child you didn't really want to come to terms with. You wanted the original Pink Ranger, you wanted the original Yellow Ranger to stay there seemingly forever, and some of the original Rangers from the original Power Rangers series did stick around. Like I know that David Yost, who played the Blue Ranger, stuck around for a while, and also the White Ranger stuck around for a number of different editions. And the Gold Ranger, of course, returning from being the Red Ranger from the original few first episodes of the Power Rangers, was fun too. But there were some changes to that series you didn't want to accept and come to terms with as a child. And now you see this new version of the Power Rangers, so many different series from Power Rangers Turbo to Power Rangers in Space, and you're kind of saying to yourself at 26, 27 years of age, whatever happened to the Power Rangers from when I was 10 years old? The Power Rangers premiered in 1993, 1994, and rapidly ascended to the top position of the most popular Saturday morning cartoon and series that was distributed from Fox Kids, and so many networks picked up the Power Rangers and tried to compete for ratings. And the fun thing about them trying to compete for ratings was you would see the Power Rangers sometimes up to 3 times a day. You'd see them in the morning, sometime in the mid-afternoon, and sometime in the nighttime. And for me, watching the Power Rangers in prime time as part of the block of television YTV would produce in the mid-1990s was the funnest time ever to check out the Power Rangers. It was always a Friday night tradition to check out that, and Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark thrown in there as part of the YTV distributional block for Friday nights. Then you had Fox competing with it. You had ASN, the Halifax station here in Canada, producing it as well. So many places had the Power Rangers, and we had a battle for ratings supremacy, and as a result, as children who didn't really understand the battle for ratings back then, we got to see the Power Rangers at least sometimes up to 3 to 4 times per day. It was awesome. No matter if it was a rerun or a new edition of the Power Rangers, you were always excited to check it out. And that's why in 2013, so ever since 1993, we are now celebrating over 20 years of the Power Rangers' success. I had virtually every piece of Power Rangers merchandise you can think of, from a Power Rangers Halloween costume, loved the Red Ranger, to action figures, and to Zords, which I think were one of the biggest things that got over with the Power Rangers. If not for those Zords, The age demographic of the Power Rangers probably would be a little bit different, probably would be within the age demographic of 3 to 5 years of age, and not many teenagers who really gotten into the Power Rangers, but I think that because of the Zords and the portrayal of those Zords and each Power Ranger having a different robot to go to battle with, no matter who the villain was, that increased the age demographic severely, and one of the most highly pieces of merchandise for Power Rangers finale, of course, was those Zords, and I really think that it can be said and put it over the microphone, if not for the portrayal of the Zords and the design of each one of these Zords having special techniques and everything, the Power Rangers probably would have not got over with the huge age demographic and how much diversity we saw within that age demographic. If we had no Zords, the Power Rangers age demographic probably would have remained within the age demographic of 3 to 5 years of age, and people who really didn't understand the concept of the Power Rangers. Now, as you got older, in seasons 4 and 5, it became very predictable. It became very obvious what was going to happen from episode to episode. But definitely, the funnest years of watching the Power Rangers was when you were a youngster between the age of 7 and 8. I loved the Power Rangers, and then after the Power Rangers went off air, I was kind of going through a period of depression. Wanting the Power Rangers back on television, I participated in so many different polls, so many different decisions to try to get the Power Rangers back on air. It was a real campaign that I had started up along with a lot of other networks that were trying to promote the fact that Power Rangers were one of the most popular series that had ever been distributed. When you talk about children's television on Saturday mornings and all through the week, every day from Monday to Thursday at least, they would air a different edition of the Power Rangers. Friday night would be a huge night to watch the Power Rangers in prime time. Saturday mornings was always big on Fox Kids, and after knowing the Power Rangers were not coming back, very depressed. So when they would air a marathon years after the Power Rangers were canceled of the original series, I would literally sit down the whole day and watch at least over half or 75% of that series, leaving about 25% of it because I didn't want to really ruin the feel of the Power Rangers and how fun it was seeing it brought back for a marathon to try to relive the best years of the Power Rangers. And no matter how many variations they come out with the new series, from Power Rangers Megaforce, we go back to Power Rangers Turbo and Power Rangers Space, I will always revert back to the very successful series that we saw distributed from 1993 till at least 1997. One of the down points, as I alluded to here earlier, was the fact that within seasons 1 through 3 the show was canceled because of the controversy. I remember reading a press release a couple of years ago about a death that occurred from the portrayal of the maneuvers that were used for the Power Rangers series. Now, on TV nowadays, you see these advertisements telling people not to try moves you see on television at home. Now, if they had some kind of warning distributed for the Power Rangers back in 93, 94, which they were very uneducated not to have, we probably would still be seeing the original Power Rangers series produced. And I think that warnings put up before the show returned from commercial breaks would have definitely affected it. You see it for professional sports like wrestling and the UFC all the time, so you could have had that for this children's show because of the amount of violence that you did see. Now, I will agree with some of the critics out there was an extensive amount of violence for this show, but even though there was an extensive amount of violence, it didn't really decrease the popularity of the show. Parents were kind of getting on the back of the producers of this, from Sabian Entertainment to Fox Kids, saying that something had to be done. You either had to decrease the amount of violence that you were distributing along with all the merchandise, or you had to cancel the show in its entirety. People did not listen, and eventually the show was canceled. And they didn't listen in the way of decreasing the amount of violence because they thought that violence and standing up for your rights and believedness as a child was the right thing to distribute on television. But I remember reading all these controversial reports and being very distraught when they canceled the show. So when you would see a special marathon every couple of months after the Power Rangers had been canceled in its entirety, it was a Saturday morning thing or a Sunday afternoon thing to do, to sit back and watch the entire marathon of the Power Rangers. Teletoon Retro, for those of you who want to check out the original Power Rangers series, occasionally air a number of editions of the Power Rangers. That is early in the mornings between 6:30 and 7 a.m. Eastern Time is when you can check out the Power Rangers. They right now are the only network that I know of that air the original Power Rangers. You have to have a retro cartoon network pretty much to check out the Power Rangers because they are in that category of being a retro television series. But I still really believe to this day the Power Rangers are one of the most successful series on TV. If they were not, the issue can be raised of how come they're coming out with so many different variations of the original Power Rangers series. We go from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers all of a sudden to Power Rangers Turbo, then from Power Rangers Turbo to Power Rangers Zero, then from Power Rangers Zero all the way to Power Rangers in Space. I think that, if there were it wasn't a successful series, we wouldn't be seeing so many different adaptations released over the years. And there is still as much violence in these newer series of the Power Rangers than there were in the original series. So that issue can be raised and highlighted in a red highlighter under the issue of criticalness. And I think that is a debate that will go on for years from now, because if this show wasn't as successful as what people believed it to be, we wouldn't be seeing so many different versions of this show. And in 2013, we would not be celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Power Rangers. One of my all-time favorite Power Rangers moments was witnessing the movie released in 1995. We'll never forget the trailer of the original Power Rangers movie. I tweeted it for you on our Twitter account, as well as some editions of the Power Rangers from the original series to celebrate over 20 years of the Power Rangers series and their distribution as a series in Japan called Go Rangers. It produced over 6.5 seasons, producing over 300 episodes, and to this day is still one of the most popular series that children can watch no matter what the age demographic. We're still seeing as much violence, but now violence isn't really referred to as much as it was back in 1993, 1994. It is one of the greatest children's TV series of all time. Congratulations on over 20 years, and hopefully 15 to 20 years from now you'll be asked the question, where were you when the Power Rangers were at the top of the children's list of most watched television shows and receiving its most success? To me, the funnest years of watching the Power Rangers definitely without question were when you were about 10 or 11 years of age, watching it from seasons 1 through 3. All in all, over 300 episodes produced, seeing over 2 unprecedented decades no matter what the variation of the Power Rangers. It's one of the longest running episodic children's TV series of all time. They aired during the weekdays from Monday to Friday, and on Saturday mornings it was always a popular thing to do. The CW airs it as part of the Vortex block, and the original Power Rangers can be seen as part of Teletoon Retro's lineup very early in the morning. You have to catch this one. You literally have to be up with the sun to see this one. It airs anywhere between 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern Time, so make sure you're a part of the Power Rangers no matter what way you want to pay tribute or respect to it, no matter if it's by checking out the original Power Rangers or being a part of the new one, Power Rangers Megaforce, which you can catch as part of the Vortex block. Joining in on the Power Rangers success with the Vortex block on Saturday mornings, you have the new Batman distribution and the WWE Saturday Morning Slam, which is a very popular Saturday morning show to watch as part of the Vortex block on the CW. You can go to CW's official website for additional information on the distribution of the new series, the Power Rangers Megaforce. Of course, it airs on YTV in Canada, celebrating over 20 years of success from 1993 all the way to 2003. No matter if it was the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or Power Rangers in Space, in this new one, the latest adaptation, the closest thing you will get to the original Power Rangers Megaforce, the Power Rangers are still seeing just as much success as they were back when they premiered, with their pilot episode that had many modifications for the premiere of the original season 1, back in 93 and 94. And to this day, Power Rangers are still being described as one of the greatest, if not the children's television series of all time, one of the longest running of all time, 300 episodes. Congratulations for 2 decades of unprecedented success. I'm your host, Jonathan Clarke, and I will see you next week. Join the conversation with me on Facebook. Get in on all the action, facebook.com/HW Entertainment. Follow me on Twitter at JonathanClarke1, where you'll see full editions of the original Power Rangers series to commemorate over 20 years. Jonathan Clarke1 for that, and you can also watch past video archives, including this week's feature video on the success of over 20